All right, here we go. All right, I'm Adam Funderburg. This is Men's Development Day, and today we're going to go and touch into the random memories that you have as a kid and how to use this to motivate yourself with respect to your parenting. Okay, so let's dive in. One of the things that I think is super crucial to understand is that if you look back on your own upbringing, you had 365 days a year, you had a full 24 hours a day, you were, likely in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, but you do not remember all of the days of your summer vacation. You do not remember everywhere that you were. When you were in kindergarten, you don't remember, I don't even remember who my third grade teacher was. But I do have these vague, random, spotty memories of times in different grades with different teachers, with different adults, with kids, with on the playground, with just different circumstances. And I know that I've had conversations with my parents and they described an event that I have no recollection at all about. And so what I'm saying is that you never know when that record button is going to be hit. You never know when the circumstances for a comment that you make that you think is just casual, that you think is, understood, and it means something. It means something to your kid in a extraordinarily positive or negative way, and so it's super important that we are intentional. It's super important that we look at our lives and we try to be our best. There's two books that I absolutely love on marriage for two completely different reasons. Love and Respect, it's a fantastic book. Every other chapter is written toward a man, and the alternating ones are written toward a woman. Personally, I would say that you stick to reading unless you're reading it with your wife, I strongly suggest that you just stick to the chapters that are written toward you. Because otherwise, you know how you want her to treat you, right? You're not trying to be her teacher. Let the author be her teacher, okay? You stick to working on your own business, because if you sit there and read all about how she should be treating you, you're going to be aggravated and annoyed and bothered, and, that's just not going to be helpful to become a better man, right? And that's the goal. The other one is How We Love. This one here is also about marriage. And the thing is that I love both of these books for very different reasons. How We Love, I was actually very uncomfortable when I first started listening to it, because it reminded me of a whole lot of the stuff that came out in the 90s, which was, all about, hey, you know what? It's your parents' fault. Your parents were terrible, and they're the reason why you're all screwed up. Have a good day. Right? They didn't seem to me to help. They just dug stuff up. And that's not super helpful, right? And one of the things that is in How We Love, one of the things that I enjoyed about it and that I found helpful was they were talking about how when you grow up, They treated the relationship between a husband and a wife like dance steps, and that we learn dance steps growing up. And then when we spot somebody that looks like a good dance partner, we connect with them, right? Maybe we'll approach them, date, get married, and then we discover that there are a ton of dance steps that they were taught that for us are offensive, and vice versa, right? There might be, if you're loud when you get excited, they might regard that as yelling, right? And being angry. Like the only time that they ever heard loud was when it was angry. And anyway, so there's a bunch of circumstances that go into this. Now, I think that it's fairly common knowledge that a lot of women are attracted to men that remind them of their fathers. And a lot of men are attracted to women that remind them of their mothers. And one of the things that with respect to consistency is that I have seen men, I saw a man, and I know that this is not just an isolated case, where he was raising 3 kids, him and his wife, and they were super involved in their church, super excited about the things of God, very committed people. And then a handful of things didn't go the way that he thought that they should, and he really just walked away from God, and she didn't do a whole lot better, right? Now, the thing is that when these things happened, the oldest boy was high school age. The middle child was junior high, and the youngest was in elementary school. So a lot of the dance steps that were good were taught to the oldest. A lot and so he was on his way out, and went on to live a pretty darn stable life. The next one witnessed, because they had not moved out, they had to be there. They witnessed a whole lot of bad behavior, right? And then the youngest, all he ever knew was bad behavior. He had no real training in dance steps that were good. And the thing is that we never know when the record button is going to be hit, right? It's just going to be random collections of information, right? From our parents, our siblings, people at school, teachers, what have you. It's super important that we are consistent. It's super important that we are constantly working on maturing and getting better. Now, one of the greatest things that I did as my kids were growing up to be consistent was I would write myself a series of as I developed, say on a day in July, I had a bit of insight on a circumstance with my kids, right? Or a bit of insight with a circumstance with my wife, or something along those lines, right? I would write that stuff down, because what I never wanted was to, 3 months later, make the exact same mistake and not learn the lesson. And so what I would do is I would write myself on a steno pad. I'd write myself a note saying, hey, remember that it's like this. So that every morning when I got up, I would go to my steno pad and I would open it up and I would read what I had told myself about life. And I was able to progress and get better and better and better. And then a day will come when you're reading through your proverbs to yourself about life, and you will exhale and be like, oh, this is a drudgery. That's when you go through and you tear those pages out and you go through it and you curate it and you cut out all of the stuff that that when you look at it, you go, yeah, I got that. Okay, cool. That one's good. I feel like I got a good handle on that one. You look at another one and you go, you know what? This is just a low priority. It's an interesting observation, but it's a low priority. And you curate that thing back down so that you can start growing it again. You can start adding to it. And it makes it so that your wisdom increases. I have also seen the reverse of the situation that I was telling you about, where I have seen a guy that he wasn't saved. He was smoking weed and drinking and doing drugs, and he was a complete loser, and had a wife, 2 kids, and then he got saved. And his kids were, just for discussion's sake, 14, 12, and 6. The oldest son has only seen bad behavior and vulgarity, right? The middle child at 12 is still like learning those dance steps, still learning how people interact, and their parents are their primary model. Now, yeah, she has some bad ideas. She's seen some stupid stuff, but she's happy and she's hopeful and she's picking up new dance steps. The youngest at 6 may never have a recollection at all of dad being drunk and high and doing stupid stuff. And so this is why it's super important that you are constantly trying to progress, and that your kids, as they grow up, have a different set of expectations. I would want my youngest to have greater expectations and greater wisdom because I modeled something than my oldest. I would want that every step in age down, they have memories of a greater version of me. So yeah, you know what? I think that is where I am. I'm going to cut it off and call it a day. Be intentional. Be constantly trying to figure out how to improve and get better, so that when it really is a passing of the baton that doesn't happen in a moment. It's not like a track race where you hand the baton down in a fraction of a second. It's a long training process where you show them how to treat people, how to be treated, how to expect people to respond when they're mistreated, and you want to behave in a way that they will be attracted to a great version of you, because they're going to marry a version of you. They're going to be attracted to a version because the steps are familiar. All right, I'm Adam Funderburg. This is a Men's Development Day podcast, and I will catch you later. Bye-bye.